His Grace Ram Giridhari Prabhuji. And I think Prabhuji is enlightening us today on 7:15:27 and onwards. So, Prabhuji, if you're on the call, then you can take over. Thank you so much for your association. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. Happy to hear you, Rupini Padmavataji, and I hope your India agenda got all closed.
Yes, Prabhuji, thank you so much. So nice to hear you. I'm looking forward for your class. Hare
Welcome
Krishna.
back.
Hare Krishna.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki. The reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 15, text number 27. Esha vai Bhagavan Sakshat Pradana Purusheswaraha Yogashvair Vimrajnagrair Lokayam Manyate Naram. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Translation. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna, is the master of all other living entities and of the material nature. His lotus feet are sought and worshipped by great saintly persons like Vyasa. Nonetheless, there are fools who consider Lord Krishna an ordinary human being. Purport. The example of Lord Krishna as being the Supreme Personality of Godhead is appropriate in regard to understanding the spiritual master. The spiritual master is called Sevaka Bhagavan, the Surveyor Personality of Godhead, and Krishna is called Sevya Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead who is to be worshipped. The spiritual master is the worshipper God, whereas the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, is the worshipable God. This is the difference between the spiritual master and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Another point, Bhagavad Gita, which constitutes the instruction of Supreme Personality of Godhead, is presented by the spiritual master as it is without deviation. Therefore, the absolute truth is present in the spiritual master. As clearly stated in text 26, Jnana Deepa Pradhe, the Supreme Personality of Godhead gives real knowledge to the entire world, and the spiritual master, as the representative of the Supreme Godhead, carries the message throughout the world. Therefore, on the absolute platform, there is no difference between the spiritual master and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If someone considers the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna or Lord Ramachandra, to be an ordinary human being, this does not mean that the Lord becomes an ordinary human being. Similarly, if the family members of the spiritual master, who is the bona fide representative of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, consider the spiritual master an ordinary human being, this does not mean that he becomes an ordinary human being. The spiritual master is as good as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and therefore one who is very serious about spiritual advancement must regard the spiritual master in this way. Even a slight deviation from this understanding can create disaster in the disciples' Vedic studies and austerities. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Yesha vai Bhagavan Sakshat Pradana Purusheswaraha Yogeshvairir Devanajnagrir Yog Lokayam Manyate Naram. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna, is the master of all other living entities and of the material nature. His lotus feet are sought and worshipped by great saintly persons like Vyasa. Nonetheless, there are fools who considered Lord Krishna an ordinary human being. So, Narada Muni is instructing Yudhishthira Maharaj about how to be a civilized human being. Several instructions Narada Muni is offering to Yudhishthira Maharaj. And last chapter, he was explaining about Varnashrama and how the Brahmanas are, responsible for the society. And in this chapter, he is going further about the different grades of Brahmanas and their associated functions. As we have many times discussed, Brahma Janati Brahmana. What is Brahma Janati Brahmana? If somebody is not realizing who is Brahman, which means who am I, then he would obviously not know who God is. It is impossible that somebody know who God is in an actual sense, but does not know who he is in the actual sense. It's an oxymoron. Typically, when somebody is realizing about his own constitutional position, Jivera Swarupa Hoy, Krishnera Nityadas, naturally the explanation about the Supreme Personality of Godhead comes in the picture. So, Narada Muni's agenda of introducing about the importance of surrendering to Guru and Krishna and comparing how Guru and Krishna are qualitatively one, Sakshad Haridvena. In terms of functions, they do the same function. One is Sevaka Bhagavan, another one is Sevya Bhagavan. So as usual, we are going to turn this current context through some sets of reflections. Number one, why does a person consider the Supreme Lord as an ordinary human being? We have plenty of examples of people who are considering the Lord as an ordinary human being. But we will analyze why. Poundraka, all the demoniac persons that were friends with Kamsa, Kamsa himself, Ravana, Hiranyakashipu, Hiranyaksha, they all somehow miscalculated about the power of the Supreme Lord and the position of the Supreme Lord. One of these signs of foolishness The foolishness has got many sides. But one of the side of foolishness or a person being foolish is one who gives utmost importance to his experiential and his understanding, and give least importance to the saintly, the divinely, the holy personalities. If you go to a modern day men and present about the science of Krishna consciousness, they challenge the science of Krishna consciousness based on their comprehending capacity. Their conclusion is, because I can't comprehend, this cannot be true. It is a very, very low class mentality. Just because I can't comprehend something, that thing itself cannot be true, is actually foolish. Unfortunately, all these so-called modern day philosophers who are challenging the science of spirituality, who challenge the existence of the Supreme Lord, they think that I am not able to comprehend, I cannot experience, I have not seen, I have not touched, I have not, interacted. So this cannot be true, which means I am giving utmost weightage to my experience over the holy, saintly, divinely people. And Prabhupada writes here, this holy, divinely, saintly people are as good as the God, because they are doing the function as that of a God. So my first reflection is to recognize if we are anywhere being stung by foolishness in our life. This complex, this propensity is called superiority complex. Superiority complex, if you study psychology, there is something called as inferiority complex, introvert, extrovert, and one of them is superiority complex. This superiority complex makes one person think, build an attitude where he will base his decision based on his experience, his conclusion, his ideology, his choice. He will have an exaggerated opinion about their own abilities and accomplishments. And all asuras are like that. And subtly, very, very subtly, if you analyze, we are suffering in this material world because of this complex. We are struggling in this material world because of our ego, because of our superiority complex, because of our nature of being self-glorifying, self-centered nature. And anyone who operates on that zone can be easily classified as a fool, because what you know is 1/10. What you don't know is, unlimited. In Tamil, there is a saying, Kattradu kaiman alavu, kalladadu ulagalavu. What I know or what I think I know is only 1/10 of actual truth. There will be much more things that we have to learn and know. Ananta Sesha, few chapters before we discussed, Ananta Sesha is expressing his precarious condition and glorifying the Supreme Lord. He is saying, I am constantly witnessing the Lord's activities 24/7 by 365. Still, I have not even come to understand a portion, a peck of the Lord's activities. Every time it is amazing me, every time it is surprising, every time it is new, every time it is non-comprehensible. Another Sesha statement, pure devotee, eternal associate. And here, people say, Krishna is an ordinary human being. Who are you, sir? Who are you? Why do you say that? What is the basis? What is the pramana? Vitandavad, everybody is ready to do. Just by saying, I am a Bahadur, just by saying I am strong, does not make us strong. You don't have intelligence where you should show your strength and how you should show your strength. What is happening right now in India is an example of that. What is happening? Where you are supposed to show your strength, you don't show your strength. Because of your own weakness, because of your own sense gratificatory nature, because of your own superiority complex, because of your own tendency to enjoy and keep everybody under control, we become blind and foolish. In Hindi, there is a saying, खुद के पैर में कुल्हाड़ी मारना, digging one's own graveyard. That's the result of persons who are foolish and foolish enough that they consider Krishna as an ordinary human being. And I am not saying this. Narada Muni is saying this. Not only Narada Muni is saying this, even Krishna himself is saying this. Avajananti mamuda manusham tanumashritam param bhavam ajananto mama bhuta maheshwaram. But why is this reflection relevant in this context? Prabhuji, hum sab log to devotee hai na? We are all devotees. We all agree Krishna is Supreme Personality of Godhead. But why do you bring this reflection in this current context? The reason is, sometimes, subtly, in a very, very subtle manner, this superiority complex goes inside us. We try to agree Krishna being Supreme Personality of Godhead at one level. But when we are having relationship with Vaishnavas, when we are doing devotional service amongst the devotees, when we are doing some activities in Krishna consciousness, we would have not brought that understanding that I am Krishna's servant and Krishna is my master. That understanding does not come into force. Then what is the use? Not knowing Krishna being Supreme Personality of Godhead and thinking that he is an ordinary human being is actually foolish. But look at the second scenario. Knowing Krishna being Supreme Personality of Godhead, knowing that I am Krishna's servant, and I still behave in a manner having my complex centered around me. Are we not more stupids? Are we not more foolish? So this is something that we need to watch out, because knowingly or unknowingly, because of our association with the worldly minded people, because of our association with worldly minded things, we get carried away and does not even realize when I switch from Krishna centered zone to self centered zone. Having an understanding of my way, my thinking, my ideology, my conclusion, my desire, my goal. This is something to be watched out for. And this propensity will make us swing more towards Kali than towards Krishna. Now, one step more is that I not only not realize I am having this complex, there is a mismatch between my philosophical understanding and my actual execution. So when somebody is not realizing his foolishness and go ahead and preach to people how they are foolish in following some nonsense and ask them to follow me, is considered as the height and topmost level of foolishness. So we are just, as the first reflection, talking about 3 levels of foolishness. Level 1, I did not know, do not know who Krishna is. I see him as an ordinary human being. You are a fool. Level 2, I know Krishna is Supreme Personality of Godhead and I know I am his servant, but I don't behave like one. In my thoughts, in my action, in my desire, I will behave according to my own whims and fancies, which some of us, out of our conditioning, out of our being careless, we go in that zone. And worse than that is, somebody is going out to the world and preach, encourage, welcome, inspire everyone to follow us, and try to further put ourselves in the foolish shoes. For the third level, examples are plenty. Poundraka is one example. Kamsa is one example. Hiranyakashipu is one example. The level 2, where we forget our identity of Jivera Swarupa Hoy Krishna Nityadas and try to perform activities purely in a self-centered way. We have examples of our own selves because of our association, carelessness. So the second category of a person is a sadhaka being careless. Third category of a person is an asura to be punished. First category of a person is an ignorant to be preached. So all the 3 are foolish. First level is ignorant. He has to be preached, and maybe by the help of him, we imparting some knowledge and extending some knowledge to him, there's a possibility of him reviving. And category 2 is somebody who is because of carelessness or overconfidence. So he just need to be getting right spiritual association for him to be properly situated, because he already knows some things just because of his wrong association. And the third category of person is supposed to be punished, nothing else. So this is my first reflection. And second reflection is what Srila Prabhupada writes in the last part of the purport. Even a slight deviation from this understanding. What understanding? Sakshad haridvena samasta sastrair uktastada va. So it is very important that the spiritual master is treated as good as Supreme Personality of Godhead, and those who are serious about spiritual advancement must regard the spiritual master in this way. Even a slight deviation from this understanding can create disaster in the disciples' Vedic studies and austerities. Prabhupada, when he explains about certain topics, he adds additional adjective layer to explain the importance about the subject matter. When Prabhupada mentions that it can create disaster, so let us talk about disaster in life. What all things are disaster in life? We will evaluate three levels of disaster. Disaster number 1, I do not have this understanding that Krishna and spiritual master is supposed to be treated as good as Krishna. If I did not have that understanding, my spiritual life is at stake. But one level worse than that is, I know my spiritual master should be treated as good as Krishna. I theoretically know. But I still, out of my being careless, lethargic, I have not activated my relationship with my spiritual master like that. Rather, I try to become familiar with him. Prabhupada writes, familiarity breeds contempt. So when, instead of trying to serve my spiritual master as good as Krishna, I become familiar with my spiritual master, stay with the spiritual master, have a feeling that I am staying with my spiritual master and trying to surcharge myself spiritually, but not learning anything and rather only observing faults, is a disaster. And we have several examples of how someone who is qualified, someone who is educated, is becoming victim of them. One example is called Ramachandra Puri, disciple of Sripad Madhavendra Puri. Ramachandra Puri was not an ordinary person. He is a disciple of Madhavendra Puri. Madhavendra Puri will not accept anyone and everyone to be his disciple. But Ramachandra Puri, what he did? He tried to find fault with Madhavendra Puri. There was a disciple of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Maharaj. His name is Mon Maharaj. He was like Ramachandra Puri. So these are all names, as much as the names of devotees who are glorious servants, their names are etched in the history. Even these names are also etched in the history. Because these names actually bringing blasphemy to them, it's a big disaster. And the third level of disaster is, or the worst level of disaster is, that someone claim themselves as Guru, themselves as God, and want everyone to worship them. Prabhupada called them as bogus gurus, bogus God. How many God-like personalities they are, trying to exploit the innocence of the people. Because of their behaving in that way, they are supposed to be punished. And the biggest disaster is that they will be doomed. They will eventually completely lose their sanity, and they will be punished by all the agents of the Lord, because they are not only destroying their own life, they are destroying others' life also. So my second reflection is to say that even in disaster, we are supposed to be, very clear that when such disaster is there in our society, in our associations, we are supposed to carefully eliminate them. So on one side, one should not remain foolish, and on the other side, one should avoid this disastrous situation. These both go hand in hand. So the net formula is, as much as I am foolish, that much as I am inviting my disaster. So that is my second reflection. So it is important, hence, that one need to take some care about doubting one's own action. That brings in the third reflection and the last one. What happens is, many times the obvious points are clear, but certain attachments, affinity towards some things will make us blind. I'll give 4 examples. Bhishma Pitamaha, Karna, Yudhishthira Maharaj, Arjuna. Bhishma Pitamaha, he is a Mahajana. He can see Krishna face to face, talk to Krishna face to face. He can leave this body anytime that he wants. In spite of all the accolades that Bhishma Pitamaha have, he stood by the side of adharma. We can argue that this is for the Leela, and that's absolutely true, it is for the Leela. But let us get inside the Leela and analyze the character. Bhishma Pitamaha gave importance to his ideology, the vow that he gave that more importance than being in the side of dharma and glorifying Krishna. You see the point, that I am attached to my vows over my being correct. Bhishma did not retaliate. Several mistakes he did because he wanted to make sure that the vow, I do not want at no point in time any person raises the finger and say that I broke my promise. I'm saying, what is the value of that promise if you are not glorifying Krishna? What is the value of your vow if it is not pleasing Krishna? What is the value of your being a great personality if we are not able to bring in a smile on the face of the Supreme Lord? So from that perspective, Bhishma Pitamaha's affinity towards his vows, as I said, even though it is part of the Leela, it is not about targeting Bhishma, but it is as a character, his being extra attached to the vows over Krishna is a disagreeable, is a discourageable subject. Same thing with Karna. Karna, what happens is that according to the warfare dharma, any times when any place when war is going to be declared, dharma yuddha, not India-Pakistan war, whenever and wherever dharma yuddha is declared, the trend used to be both the parties, for and against, both the parties can make a public statement and lobby for getting people on their side. This is allowed, legally allowed. So Yudhishthira Maharaj, Duryodhana, both of them were lobbying. So what is lobbying? They can go and tell to the whole world, war is going to start. I am going to be, fighting for these things. Whoever wants to stand with me, please come over. Without any, prejudice, we will take you in. That is dharma. So what happens is, before the Mahabharata war, Krishna and Kunti Maharani is going to ask Karna to come and fight. And look at what Karna's response is, which is celebrated. Wow, 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 Karna is very nice. What is your value of all those nice if he is fighting against Krishna? I am a scientist. I am a scholar. I am very intelligent. I am superlatively qualified. But I am a terrorist. Why? What is the value then? So Karna's all good qualities became useless because of his attachment towards his loyalty against Krishna. Now these two are at least on the side of adharma. Now let us take two examples on the side of dharma. Yudhishthira Maharaj. When Krishna said to Yudhishthira Maharaj that please declare that Ashwatthama has died, Yudhishthira Maharaj did not want to say that because he thought Krishna has asked me to tell a lie. But he forgot. Not that he did not know. He forgot. Krishna is Bhagavan. And Bhagavan is beyond, false and truth. If Krishna says Ashwatthama has died, you have to say Ashwatthama has died, period. But he didn't do that. And because of his attachment towards him being Dharmaraj. I have never said any lies. So how can I say a lie now? First of all, his conclusion that Krishna's statement is a lie itself is, bogus. And now to have such a blabbering to say that how can I tell a lie? Got him two negative brownie points. It is said that just before that episode happened, Yudhishthira Maharaj's rath used to be 2 feet above the ground. But after this, the rath, came to the level of ground, which means the stature and position of Yudhishthira Maharaj, he had to compromise because of his, attachment towards his own ideology, which is generally good, but when it is against Krishna, such ideologies are waste. Now come to our friend Arjuna. Arjuna, he had lots of misconceptions. He had lots of ideas about what is righteousness. But then Arjuna doubted himself. What if my desires are going to be wrong? What if my conclusion is wrong? So better I will discuss with my well-wisher, get it verified, and then I will act upon it. Not that I will act upon it just because I desired, as others did. Others did what? I desired, so I am entitled. But definitely, Arjuna did not go that route. Arjuna said that I desire, I think I am correct, but I will still validate, because even if there is 1% mistake in my conclusion, then I am going to create a havoc, confusion in the society. And at no point in time I want to be part of the problem. So hence Arjuna became a very good example of how someone tries to utilize their human form of life for doing something substantially correct. So my third reflection hence is that on one side being foolish, On one side, facing the disaster, one should have a common sense, one should have a courage, one should have the inclination to proclaim, to say, Jivera Swarupa Hoy, Krishnera Nitya Das, and my function as a servant of the Supreme Lord is to make sure that I work beyond my personal attachments. My personal attachment, my personal choices, my personal whims and fancies may come in the way, but I'll still give importance. I will take conclusion based on my mentor, guide, guru's suggestions, input, knowing that I am a conditioned soul and he is a self-realized soul. So that's the third and the last reflection. Because most of the times, we are carried away. But when we generally do the introspection, when we generally do some sort of soul stirring conversation with our near and dear ones, with our friends, with our guru, then our reality can be presented to us. Otherwise, what I understand as a reality vis-a-vis what is the actual reality may vary, and which will make us completely get lost. So hence it is important as a last reflection that one need to rise above one's own foolishness, one's own disaster, and be properly situated under the direction of a bona fide spiritual master. So these are all the three sets of reflection I could think of from this current shloka, wherein Narada Muni is explaining the importance of worshipping a guru, and how this is not some whimsical things. They are all provided by great saintly kings like Vyasadeva. So it is not that even Narada Muni is just giving some his or her own views. He is also giving a reference that Vyasadeva, who is to be literary incarnation of Krishna, he is substantiating, corroborating facts. So from that perspective, we are a scientific, sensible, enthusiastic set of devotees wanting to win ourselves and others to the lotus feet of Krishna. So these three reflections, reflection number one is that what is foolish in the context of Krishna consciousness. Reflection number two, what is disaster in the context of Krishna consciousness. And the third reflection is how it is important that one need to make sure that one revives his lost spirituality by taking shelter of a self-realized soul and try to recognize disaster in his life much, much ahead of all others would experience. So with this note, I will stop here and take up any questions or comments or reflections or critiques. Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Gaurav Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Any questions, comments, or reflections? Please go ahead.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Madhavat Pranam to you, Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai. Thank you so much for the wonderful class. And I just wanted to add one line before we start the question and answer session. You mentioned about that. I had only heard about it, that our spiritual master is like is no different than Krishna. I mean, he's representative of Krishna. So, we have to give that respect. And, it's like we cannot think either Krishna or the Guru Maharaj as ordinary. So that was really nice. And it is reflecting those from these verses. Even yesterday we read and today. So thank you so much for the wonderful class. And also your points, we can register and remember. So like the way you conduct the class like that. So now anybody has any question or comments, they can please go ahead.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, this is Geeta.
Hare Krishna ma'am.
Thank you so much for this wonderful class, Prabhuji. So, my question is about Arjuna. So, You did bring it up. So he was the least of all in terms of making a mistake, because at least he thought that if he's not sure, he'll ask the Lord, right? I
Right.
mean, he didn't doubt the Lord.
He didn't
He
doubt the Lord.
just,
Name.
yeah. So he
None
was
of them doubted the
confused.
Lord. See, Bhishma also didn't doubt the Lord. Karna also didn't doubt the Lord. This also didn't doubt the Lord. But they gave importance to their own ideologies more than, the Lord. At least in case of Arjuna, he gave importance to his ideology, but he doubted himself. So what I was trying to say is that at some point in time, we need to be questioning ourselves. The idea of Vedic knowledge is use Vedic knowledge as a torchlight and question your own intelligence. Many a times, what we may see as clean place may be dirty when you see in proper light. I'm sorry, I didn't even let you ask the question, but please go ahead.
No, I understand, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. You already clarified then. Yeah, and so another thing is Yudhishthira Maharaj finally did say Ashwatthama was dead. Finally, though he
No,
doubted,
but
right?
he said it in a different way. He said because when he denied to Krishna, I cannot say the statement. Then Krishna offered him a
The
solution.
Yeah,
He said, "I will kill an elephant called Ashwatthama. You just say Ashwatthama, the elephant died. I will do the rest." So technically, Yudhishthira Maharaj stuck to his being truthful over following what Krishna wanted. Of
right.
course, because he is a devotee, he got some brownie points and things got worked out. But the other people, because they were on the side of adharma, they had to be punished. Otherwise, technically, what Yudhishthira Maharaj did vis-a-vis what Bhishma Pitama did, vis-a-vis what Karna did, they were all hung up upon their ideologies over
Yeah,
Supreme Personality of Godhead.
right. And actually, if Bhisham Pitama was if this had happened during hypothetical, Lord Rama's time, Lord Rama always said, Pran jai par vachan na jai. No, that time. So, I mean, it changed.
The idea is that Lord performing his action is beyond, acha bura bala.
Huh,
There's nothing called in Krishna's case. This good. This is Krishna's good words. This is Krishna's bad words. This is Krishna's vows. This is Krishna's sacrifice. It's not like that. Krishna's formula is all called transcendental and absolute. Whenever we take Krishna's and Krishna consciousness related words, these two words are always added. One is called absolute, which means beyond dualities. Second is transcendental, which means beyond materialistic arena. So from
yeah.
that perspective, it is divine.
So basically, just have blind faith, that's what it is. Of course.
No, it's not blind faith. Just have faith which is directed towards fulfilling the instructions for which you can ask questions. If I am a student, what is the difference between criticism and feedback? Criticism's agenda is to show you down. Feedback's agenda is to improve the process. So, Geeta Mataji, I want to give a feedback to you. How will I give feedback? I will make sure I appreciate your good things. I appreciate all the endeavor that you do. Also, I will tell room for improvement. If my agenda is only criticizing you, why will I appreciate? I will just directly go and jump upon your statements and try to show you down. So the intent here is that Krishna's instructions need not be accepted blindly. At the same time, it need not be rejected blindly, and it need not be undervalued in comparison to your own ideology. Those are the things that we are trying to condemn. Because who knows, your ideology is full of faults. Not who knows, it is obvious. Itihas gawah hai that when we are trying to do our own ideology over Krishna's ideology, then which means Poundraka is a very classic example. Poundraka, was having such a superiority complex. He went and told the entire city, saying that how the real Krishna and Dwaraka is bogus and I am the real one. And he made people believe. Unfortunately, if I repeat the same lie 4 times, 10 times, if you are not a very serious student, you may tend to believe me eventually. So that's what he did. And he made people believe that probably he is Krishna. And eventually Krishna had to chop off his head. Not only his head, Krishna chopped off every other follower's head of Poundraka. So from that standpoint, it is imperative that it is better to question yourself. You just make sure that what you're thinking is in line with the philosophy. Make sense?
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Hare
Thank
Krishna,
you.
Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Any other questions or comments?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavat Pranam, all great to Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna.
It was a nice class, reflecting upon the surrender to the Guru. I have a question regarding that. We supposed to consider the instructions and activities of the Guru transcendental beyond the three modes of material nature. So in that way, how can we justify Bhaktivinoda Thakur leaving his first Guru and getting the Jagannath Das Babaji as Guru second?
Okay, I do not know the entire episode, whatever happened there, but there is a statement in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu where a devotee is expected to scientifically progress in Krishna consciousness. It means initially he will develop some initial faith in the holy name and the process. Then he'll develop some attachment towards the personalities who are following the process. And third is he developed some sense of surrender. So initiation, at the time of initiation, it is explained that Guru can evaluate disciples and disciples can evaluate Guru. At the same time, after the initiation, after the acceptance of spiritual master or acceptance of the disciple, they are not supposed to look backwards. It is to be knowing that he is my life and soul, and the Guru should think that this guy is my responsibility. But what happens is, because of Kali's prabhava, because of Kali's influence, there are situations, there are circumstances where Guru deviated or said some things which are unacceptable by spiritual circle of people. So Rupa Goswami Pad explains that even after initiation, because we are all scientifically following the process, if we find our spiritual master deviating from his own spiritual master and also the ideology, then we need not blindly follow such a Guru. So even after accepting a Guru, you can reject him on the grounds that he is no more maintaining his stature. In case of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, the gravity and intensity of the previous relationship, I am not aware, but this is the general formula that I am referring to. Does it make sense, Prabhu?
Yeah, makes sense, but it is said that the Guru Sadhu Shastra boils down to Guru's instruction. So even if apparently the Shastra contradicts Guru's instruction, the interpretation is not available to me at this mundane level, which the Guru knows. So I'm supposed to follow. So I'm questioning that.
And your questioning is
I'm questioning. I'm pitting that against this this leeway given to question the Guru. So is it not contradictory that
it is not? It is not, but because this questioning is an extraordinary situation. I am a regular devotee practicing nicely, but suddenly I started breaking the regulative principles. I should be immediately, become careful. Otherwise, my dependents, my subordinates, will also be inflicted the same disease. So it is imperative to note that in our process of Krishna consciousness, we are taking a responsibility of our devotional journey and we are vigilant. Guru helps, Sadhu helps, Shastra helps, Dham helps, They are all like frill elements, periphery elements. What going to help us? Tyaktva turnam asesha mandalapati shrenim sadatu chavat bhutva dina ganesa kau karunaya kaupina kanta shutau. Srinivas Acharya is singing that Tyaktva turnam asesha mandalapati. These Goswamis, they simply gave up all sorts of false designations. Whether it is Janayu, whether it is saffron robes, whether it is Kamandlu, everything they just relinquished because they thought somewhere or other they are adding some sort of an upadhi. So asking a question to the spiritual master is one, there is an extraordinary situation and which also tells about your being vigilant all the time. I surrendered to Guru, but I am vigilant all the time because my spiritual life is my responsibility, not an outsourced responsibility. So I need to be constantly careful. It is like you are eating some very delicious food. Suddenly, when there is a stale smell coming from the food, so you should not ignore that sense. You should doubt. Maybe that staleness is because of some surroundings. Maybe the staleness is because of some other situation. But it is not right to ignore that stale smell. Maybe shock, maybe doubt. What is there? Something must have fell in my food. Maybe somebody must have added something. Some sort of an vigilance is appreciated, and the vigilance should be directed towards the right personality and for the right purpose, because our vigilance should not become a reason for our fights with that opposite person, nor it should be for a political reason. So it is, even though it looks contradictory, there is no contradiction. I am not doubting my Guru, but I am concerned. So then I guess we can easily come to a common ground. Does that make sense, Prabhu?
Yeah, I mean, no, I mean, yes, to an extent, but I want to also can I say that if the Guru has given me some instruction which is apparently contradicting scripture, that may be acceptable. But if he keeps giving this contradictory to everybody, then he becomes an object of doubt.
No, I am saying it is not about if Guru's conduct, if Guru's principles that he is following, if these two are deviant from the expected practices, then even though he must have given you the correct instruction, you can doubt him.
Mithyachari.
If a Guru is, suppose for example, I am a very good doctor giving very good treatment to my patients, but I am a drunkard, I am a smoker, then I have to be careful with such a person, because just because he's giving good treatment and not looking after himself, then it is a double standard hypocrite. So which you have to be very carefully dealt with. So that is what I'm trying to say. Once sometimes you may be very, they say in Hindi, मीठा मीठा से बात करेंगे, बहुत मिठास बात करेंगे, लेकिन असलियत धम कुछ नहीं है. They may have nothing in there with themselves, that they will be only talking some flowery words, and such an arrangement is simply waste. Does it make sense, Prabhu?
Yes. I mean, yeah, the hypocrisy, Mithyachari, yeah. That's it.
Any other questions, comments?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Very nice class, Ramagiridhari Prabhuji. You always give such wonderful points and very clear in your explanation. Aspire to be as objective as you someday. Prabhuji, my question is, when we look at some of these points of these great personalities, aren't we finding fault with them? Because we are not supposed to find fault at all. Like, we have to always look at the positive side. But I see we need to see the other side as well, so that we can learn from it. But these great personalities, they are interacting with Krishna. So they are not ordinary personalities. They are chosen for that role. And we know, like you said, Bhishma Dev is a Mahajan, and he is at the same caliber as Lord Shiva and Narada because of the 12 Mahajans. And it's also said that Bhishma Dev's service was to fight against Krishna because of the chivalrous aspect, and Krishna was enjoying even the arrows that pierced him while he took the wheel of the chariot to fight Bhishma. So it's very transcendental interaction, and he's one of the great devotees. And Krishna made Yudhishthira speak to Bhishma before he left his body to finally console himself and rule the kingdom after the war. So if we look at all these personalities, even those who are in a negative role, aren't they like we know Jay and Vijay are basically servants of the Lord in Vaikuntha, and they were kept in that situation to probably teach us a lesson, being Ravana, Kumbhakarna, etc. So so what's state of mind should we see all these personalities? Because they have all come for a purpose. Without showing somebody in a negative light, Lord cannot teach us certain aspects. So how can we not find fault with them, but always see that they are serving the Lord in a certain way, so that we can understand the right way?
Very nice question and very thoughtful one. And when I explained about it, I mentioned this point that we are not doubting these personalities. We are doubting the character that they are playing. So the idea is that the character that they are playing, Hiranyakashipu is Jaya Vijaya. So, but we are not supposed to say Hiranyakashipu ki Jai. We knowing that, Jaya Vijaya has come. So, Hare Prabhu, he is Jai. It is like when you do perform the role play in a drama, you are supposed to play the negative character. Your character should blend with the theme, so that the purpose for which the drama is done is fulfilled. So number one, when we doubt, question, and discuss about the actions of the character and not of the personification, who is the personal behind the character, I guess it is fully allowed, and that's exactly what Krishna wants us to do, because he wants us to, the purpose of these characters are played to think that please don't do that. Number one. Number two, Bhishma Pitamaha himself is saying, when he is lying down on the arrow bed, that one of the reasons that I am suffering in this arrow bed is because that I have not raised my voice against adharma. When adharma was happening in front of me, I did not raise my voice. It is my mistake. So please don't that mistake again. So from that perspective, he is also instructing us to be careful about such a nature. And the third and most important thing is that there is something called as bad person. There is something called as bad decision. Okay. We all are, bad. We are all good people, but sometimes takes bad decisions. That is called, a devotee who has fallen down or deviated. There is something called as bad person. That is asuras. So bad person, you reject him. Bad decisions, you understand and try to avoid that decision. That you as a father, you as a brother, I as a son, in our lives, in our responsibilities, we had a lot of good intentions, but sometimes take bad decisions. And we want us to be understood all the time. हाँ यार, गलती हो गई. I made a mistake. But that doesn't mean that I'm wrong. That doesn't mean that I am bad. Maybe you don't subscribe to that views of mind, but at least I'm still good enough to be associated with. So when we are talking about Bhishma Pitamaha, there are 20 other things of Bhishma Pitamaha that we all glorify, even in Mahabharata, even when he is on the side of adharma. But we cannot support him being an adharma side. We cannot support him when Draupadi was disrobed, his actions were appreciated. I mean, we cannot do that. Simply forget about all these things. When Krishna is coming as Buddha and trying to teach non-devotional service, we reject Krishna. So even though when we are, what is one of the instructions of Buddha avatar? Buddha avatar, when Dasavatar, when Krishna is coming as Buddha, we are trying to say that yes, even if I come in disguise and say Shastra is not there, even if I come in disguise and say, don't follow Vedic life, then please reject me rather than rejecting Vedic literature. That is an instruction of Buddha. Na? So from that perspective, we need to go within the character and try to extract the lessons rather than trying to be sensitive on the externals. For sure, we are not trying to, bottom line is, whether it is Hiranyakashipu or whether it is Narada Muni, by and large, we need not disrespect anyone. From that perspective, our doubting is only considered as an application related thing, not as a disrespectful manner. Prahlad Maharaj never once disrespected his dad, but he never once agreed with his dad. Prahlad Maharaj always always respected his dad, but never once agreed his dad. Never once he obeyed his dad. So from that perspective, we are always allowed to be prudent because our Krishna consciousness is our choice. Our Krishna consciousness is our responsibility. Our Krishna consciousness, we going back home, back to Godhead, you are the only one who have to own it up. All the other people are just a support. It is like a baseball player, a cricket player. When he is in the Maidan, he has to play, he has to face the ball, he has to play. All of us can cheer up, all of us can scream, all of us can cry, all of us can pray. We are all in the gallery. So from that perspective, my Krishna consciousness is my responsibility, and I can only say I am dependent on Guru and dependent on Vaishnavas, dependent on Shastras, but responsibility is still on mine. So from that standpoint, such an evaluation and questioning is absolutely accepted. Does it make sense, Prabhuji?
Yes, Prabhuji, thank you very much for the wonderful
Hare Krishna.
explanation. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments, reflections? Okay, so we can end our class, and thank you so much for engaging me.
Prabhuji, I had one question.
Yeah, go ahead.
You asked about, you mentioned about superiority and inferiority complex in the beginning in connection to the spiritual master. So can you give an example of it? If we are having a superiority complex, how we are acting, and inferiority, how we are acting? So
I gave it. I said that Poundraka is a guy who has superiority complex. Superiority complex means, one who gives some, what do you call as extraordinary, exaggerated opinion about their own abilities. No, Prabhuji, मैं तो 3 दिन में भगवद गीता पढ़ लूंगी. I will finish this. Don't worry, Prabhuji, don't worry. I will take care of my service, Prabhuji. Don't worry. So sometimes we are so much, dwelling on our, Prabhuji, मैं जो सोचती हूँ ना, वो हमेशा सही रहता है. I am always correct in my thinking. Seldom I make mistakes. मैं जब भी मैं कुछ इशारा करती हूँ, वो बराबर निकलता है. होता होगा. Maybe it would have happened, but not every time. Don't dwell on that. Maybe it has worked in 10 times, but what if the 11th time is wrong? Because we are conditioned souls. That is what Arjuna's state is. One of the things which Arjuna is, Prabhupada writes in the introduction to Bhagavad Gita, unless somebody tries to learn Bhagavad Gita as Arjuna wanted to learn, we cannot understand Bhagavad Gita. Because Arjuna first surrendered, then asked questions. We all first ask questions, and then when the result comes, we surrender. मैं एक उदाहरण देता हूं. मन्नत मांगने वाले कैसे मन्नत मांगते हैं? मेरे बेटी का शादी हो जाए, मैं तिरुपति में आके मुंडन करता हूं. मेरा नौकरी मिल जाए, मेरा पहला तनख्वाह मैं भगवान को देता हूं. ऐसे ही मांगते हैं ना. उल्टा मांगने दो ना. पहले मैं मुंडन करता हूं, मेरे बेटी का शादी हो जाए. पहले मैं पैसा डालता हूं, मेरे नौकरी मिल जाए. ऐसा पूछने आता है क्या? Even if it is a trade, which means we are testing Krishna. We are only saying, Krishna, on your success ratio, I will deal with you. अगर आप succeed करोगे, then मैं आपका साथ दूंगा. So that is stupidity, which means you are giving importance to yourself than anybody else. Does it make sense?
Yes, Prabhuji, definitely. And on the contrary, it should be like, I will, like, you don't ask Krishna, you just say, okay, I'm going to do this, maybe stop eating this or whatever, and, apna effort pehle, and then later on, if it happens, fine. So don't put Krishna in the testing situation. That's not right. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. So anybody else that has any comment, question?
Yeah, I have I have a question,
No,
Prabhuji.
Mataji. Go
Yeah,
Sure,
that
sure.
it's hypothetical, but just to clarify, like for example, this what happened in Kashmir, Pahalgam. I mean, if somebody was witnessing what the Hindus went through, the people who were killed, and they kept quiet, right? Or they were trying to save themselves. I mean, this is human nature that people run from such situations when something like this is happening to save their own lives. But would you call it a dharma?
The idea is that you need to make sure that you survive to support dharma, not you give up to support dharma. Suppose, for example, I am drowning.
Yeah.
And somebody has to rescue me. The one of the first principle of that is he has to save himself to rescue me. Not that he has to, die to. If he dies, how can he rescue me? So what happens is that
But he
when I'm
doesn't
drowned,
know at that time what it could be either way.
I understand. I'll explain that. So I'm telling you the first concept of dharma is that I need to be righteous so that I can establish righteousness. So this is the first aspect of it. So you don't, if somebody is killing, shooting left, right, center, I will stand tall and try to face him. Maybe you will be the next one to be shot. How will you face him? So from that point in time, running away from that place is intelligence, because it is not to show your, bahduri, your ability. It is to make sure that you act prudently. Having run away from us, what do? You complain, you escalate, you do some action towards stopping the adharma is expected of you. What if you say that no, bhai, koi panga nahi lene ka. I do not want to get into any sorts of complications. Let me keep silent. Then you are wrong. So the idea is that any time when there is something wrong happens, number one, see if you can stop it. Number two, if you can't stop it, can you at least object it? If you can't stop it nor object it, can you at least not participate and be in that surrounding and leave and have a stand saying that what happened was wrong and I will never subscribe? And last but not least, which is not recommended, is kill the person and also kill yourself. The fourth one is done mainly by military and government. So that is not generally a recommended one. So what is currently being done by the government is correct in their terms, because it is in their power to kill. So they are evaluating and killing. So you cannot take. So that what happens if you had counter shot him? Probably you may have to go through some investigations. But if an authority does, who will investigate? Army? No, nobody will investigate. They'll be rewarded, awarded. They will get Paramveer Chakra. So the point is, these are all the ways by which you are supposed to uphold dharma. Am I making sense?
Yes, thank you so much, Prabhuji. Very clear. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
I want to update that Prabhuji, Gita Mataji is a Kshatriyani. She is from the armed forces background. So
Hare Krishna. No. So I guess she will understand me, knowing that I do not know that background. Mataji, I'm sorry. I'm sure you can you understand my answer from the perspective of the Shastras, and wherever appropriate, you will uphold dharma.
No, perfect answer, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Anybody else for comment, question before we end the call?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Thank you so much for this wonderful class. And so Nice question answer session and cover the current issues and everything, Prabhuji. Thank you for questions also, Mataji's and Prabhuji asked. So, thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Dandavat.
So now we can end the call
Yes, Mataji.
by offering prayers. We can all offer prayers together. Vancha kalpatarubhya patitanam
Nam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo
Namo Nama. Anand Koti Vaishnavind ki jai.
Jai.
Ki jai.
Jai.
Yes, Ram Girdhari Prabhuji ki
Ki
jai.
Jai.
And everyday chant devotees ki jai.
Jai.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Hare
Prabhuji,
Krishna. Hare
for
Krishna.
enlightening us
Hope,
every time.
Thank
Hare
you.
Krishna.
hope
Hare
all the
Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you so
hope
much.
all the war will happen, like stop soon, and then we will
Yeah.
be really nice.
Thank you, all the devotees.
Thank you, Monica Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Hari Bol. Hari Bol.